to contact the Home Office.
Rehman Chishti.
Thank you. Secretary, welcome. Firstly, can I say I welcome your commitment to do everything that you can to ensure justice is done in this case. And of course, I relate to your own personal experience in the sense that I was born in a Commonwealth country and came here to the age of 6. And I think everything should be done to ensure justice is done.
Yeah.
With regards to the point I raised with the previous Home Secretary, and that was the engagement and interaction she had with the High Commissioners from Commonwealth countries and taking on board their concerns and to ensure that everything can be done by reaching out to individuals who are out in the Commonwealth countries to make them aware of how to get redress when they've been affected by the Windrush situation. What has been done in relation to reaching out to individuals in the Commonwealth countries to ensure that they know the full means of redress?
Yeah, no, thank you. And it's a very important issue as well. I mean, first of all, work was already in place with my predecessor. She had met with the Commonwealth and the Caribbean Commonwealth ambassadors, High Commissioners here in the UK, and listened to them about what they wanted. And part of that was making sure that our High Commissions in respective countries also proactively trying to go out and contact people. I also met with Commonwealth High Commissioners here in London last week and had a round table with them where I wanted to learn what more we could do. First, I wanted feedback, what they were getting back from the community, especially with respect to the task force. And overall, it was very positive feedback, I must say, in terms of what they were hearing from the Caribbean communities that they're in touch with. Also, I asked them what more we could do. So, for example, one suggestion that came for them was that they were understandably getting cases, people coming to them with cases. And so I'd set up, there's an individual in my department now from a policy official that is their point person, and they can come to directly with any cases they get. And then we will call that individual, and that individual may be abroad, it may be here in the UK, and we will call them proactively and ask them about how we can help. And then the last thing that I've discussed with them is that if we can work together in trying to contact people that still may not know what's happening, they may still want to return. And so, on what's called a returning visa. There are also individuals that they pointed out to me where they said that these are people that lived in the UK, they were Windrush, they decided to, let's say, take Jamaica, for example, to go back, to go to Jamaica and not to make their, certainly in retirement, to live in Jamaica, but they have family here and they want to visit their family, but they don't want to live here. And what can you do for them? And one thing I will be doing is that I'll be setting up a new visa route, a tourist visa route for Caribbean nationals that want to come and visit their relatives and family here, so they can get a 10-year visa and not have to go through a 1-year visa process and pay for that every time. I want to be able to get a 10-year visa at low cost. So these ideas have come from Commonwealth ambassadors and their respective governments, and so we're listening to them and I'm acting on them.
Yeah. And with regards to that, in relation to, say, for example, an individual who retires out of Commonwealth countries and they want to then come back and they've not been able to come back, they've been denied the appropriate documentation to travel back to this country. On your file, on the Home Office's documentation, will there be a system of checking to say denied re-entry because of X? And therefore, is there a way of reaching those individuals to say you were wrongly denied entry into this country, and on that basis in future, if you did want to come back, this is the criteria for you to do so?
Sorry, can I just check with Ms. Chishti? Are you talking specifically about people there that wanted to visit or wanted to return?
Those who wanted to return. So, for example, they're over here, and the point that you made earlier, that are raised with you by the High Commissioners about those, say, for example, who've retired back out to the Commonwealth countries, is a similar point raised today in meeting at the Lunar House. Do we know the number of individuals who would have been denied re-entry back into the UK, and would the file pick up in relation to how to reach to them to say that can now be rectified?
Yeah, I think we can look at that. At the moment, what we've done regarding returning residents, so people who wish to return, is I want to make it as easy as possible for them. So I'll be waiving any fees to do with that, and so it'll be free of charge. we'll also be reaching out to them, mostly through the Caribbean countries and the missions that we have there, and work with the local government. But also I've asked officials to look at it, to provide a very sort of flexible approach, a little like I was saying earlier in terms of the quality of evidence that is required, and also to take a more holistic view of their life in the UK before they left, and to when that's considered, to consider it all together, and to be very fair in how they evaluate that.
And just looking at the nature and the scale from your meetings with the different High Commissioners, you said a number of individuals had approached the High Commissioners directly. They say they've been affected, and how can they get redress? Looking at the number of, firstly, how many of those incidents have High Commissioners raised in relation to saying, is there 5 or 10 with the different High Commissioners? And which of those High Commissioners have had the greater number of individuals come to them? So we just get the scale and nature from where the number of individuals are affected greatly.
I think that, so how many cases, well, in the particular meeting I had with them, there were only about 3 or 4 cases raised, but there were others that I know they wanted to bring to our attention. So I don't know exactly since that meeting, which was about a week ago, how many cases they raised in total. And you said, was there any particular nationality? And I think from what I've heard so far, I would be surprised if Jamaica is the most dominant of those. Do we have some information there?
People coming to the task force.
Yeah, so if I think this will probably be helpful in terms of nationalities that have been in touch with as the most at the moment. In terms, if I look at the grants of documentation that's been issued, earlier I mentioned over 500 have been issued, but easily at the top of the list is Jamaica with around 200, and then number 2 would be Barbados with around 50. So it gives you a sense of which countries are more dominant.
And just moving away from that, slightly 2 more questions if I may. One with regards to resources and caseworkers. One issue, and I completely get the point that there's a 2-week timeline to make sure that decisions are made, and on occasions decisions can be made there and then. That's the information that we've had from speaking to caseworkers. Sometimes where there may be delay is that the caseworkers are not able to share issues of criminality with the individual there and then. Is there a way to make the system more transparent? For example, if a caseworker identifies there is an issue which needs further examination on criminality, sometimes it's best to raise that with the party concerned, and they may be able to shed more information and more light, and an applicant has a right to know the information he held against them. Is there a way to help address that moving forward?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, there have been individuals that have, from that cohort, that have contacted the task force that have a criminal record. It's a minority, but that does happen from time to time. And where there are cases of serious criminality, and defining serious criminality for those that may have served sentences for 12 months or more, I have asked the officials to make sure to absolutely make sure that those individuals are benefiting from the protections that are provided under the 71 Act. And why is that the case? Is because one of my other jobs is also protecting the public. And as colleagues will be aware, that it is the government has in place, actually successive governments have had in place, a policy of deporting serious people that committed serious crimes, that foreign national defenders, a policy of deporting. In fact, since 2007, it's been almost an automatic deportation is considered. And it is important, I think, if people are presenting themselves and they have been convicted and served time for a serious criminal offence, that we make sure that they are actually people that benefit from the protections under the 71 Act.
As I say, just on that very point, I think we would all agree the first duty of the state is to protect their citizens. And of course, if there's individuals who have criminality and they should not be here, they should not be here. But the specific point here was the reason that may cause delay from a decision being made on the day is where a caseworker cannot share the information which may come up in their system that the applicant sitting right in front of them may have a criminality. And the point I raise is that to make the system more transparent, the individual should share that information with the applicant, because sometimes what may happen is the individual may be able to clarify the position to say, actually, there may not be a criminality here because I haven't done it. And therefore, to make the system more transparent, would you be able to get the team to look at that?
Well, the criminal records, and Glyn, you correct me if it's any different to this, the criminal records that we would be looking at are criminal convictions in the UK. Right?
Yes.
So criminal convictions in the UK. And so you would think the individual would know if they have a criminal conviction in the UK.
Correct.
And if that individual said, I don't have it, it's wrong, I don't think we'd believe that.
You wouldn't believe that?
No, I think we would go by the conviction record that's there. That said, I think that if it's a possibility, I guess, but it would be a slim possibility that the record that's being looked at is incorrect, and you make an important point about whether we can share that information. I'd have to look more closely about whether we would generally share that information or not, but it might be a sensible way forward on that. I think it's worth looking at.
Can I just say, just on that point, having prosecuted many cases and looked at antecedents, errors do occur. And I think it's absolutely right that an individual is given a chance. If they have done a criminality, you've got to deport them, absolutely right and proper, and I don't think anybody will be able to challenge that. But an individual has a right to know that information, and if that could stop delay, a point raised today by caseworkers that transparency is more on this issue need to be looked at. But I'd be grateful if you can look at it.
I will look at that, and I will get back to Ms. Chishti on that, but I think it's an important point.
Just a final point, if I may, with regards to the point about language the Chair raised earlier and the issue of terminology. Having previously pushed the government to use the right terminology, not ISIL, language is very important, and so is terminology.
Yep.
We often see in our own papers the interlink, an interchange between hostile environment or a compliant environment.
Yep.
We see government ministers use compliant environment, different individuals, different politicians may either use hostile or compliant. On terminology, why would you say the right terminology is compliant environment?
Because to me the word hostile just sounds negative. I mean, I just think if someone says that we've created a hostile environment, the word is just a very negative word. I think it's quite un-British to use with people. I think what we're talking about is applying the law. And it's absolutely right that we have a law that tries to seek out those people that are here illegally, making that distinction between legal people that settle here legally and have every right to be here, but those that are here illegally, then we do need an environment that ensures compliance, and I just prefer that term. So that's why I haven't used the term hostile until you just put it into my mind a moment ago.
The reason I put it into your mind is that the public out there see the word interlink between hostile and compliant. And I think it's important for them, when individuals use the word compliant, just to clarify why it's important to use that terminology, rather than individuals who may use another terminology. But I think the public out there need the clarification when people use it, why they use the language. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.